Good morning, all. Today I am going to show you what is in my Sunday school teacher's emergency kit. Is this thing on? So if you're like me and you worked in children's ministry for any length of time, you'll know that any Sunday school session, any children's church session, any kids club time can be unpredictable. There are always those times when you're done your lesson, you're done what you've prepared, and you have free time. Or maybe, big church has gone overtime and you have run out of material. So I always carry with me an emergency kit. And I've used variations of this idea for youth, for like junior high age groups, all the way down to nursery. So now for each age group, you'll have to be a little bit flexible in how you use the items that are included in it, but the principle remains the same. All right, I'm going to explain to you what's in my bag and what I use the items for, but I am also going to include in the description below this video a link to a PDF of each of the items and what you can do with them. If you have other ideas for items in this kit, or if you have your own kit, by all means, leave comments with ideas in the comment section below, because this is something where we can really learn from each other and work together to give our kids, the kids that we're ministering to, the best experience possible. Okay, so I have this bag, and this bag is just a Dollarama bag, and there's nothing special about it. The important thing with any emergency kit for Sunday school is to make sure that the bag is opaque. It cannot be a clear bag, and that's because you don't want the kids to see what's in there. You don't want their interest to be piqued by any glimpse of anything that they might be seeing, because this is something you pull out only when you absolutely need it, and you use it very, very sparingly. Okay, so the first thing I have in here is a buff. So if you're familiar with the show Survivor, they always have these team markers that it's basically just a loop of fabric, and I got mine at Dollar Tree. I have several actually. They have various different prints. Print doesn't matter. It's just the fact that it's a loop of fabric it's like t-shirt material, so it's stretchy and it can be used for a ton of things. So here's what this can be used for. First of all, you can use it as a blindfold for games like Blind Man's Bluff, Marco Polo, leading a blind man, as in trust exercises, a three-legged race, so you twist it, one kid's leg and the other side on another kid's leg. You can use it for costumes, so you get a pillowcase, put it flat on the child's head, and use this to hold it on to create any character, basically in the Old Testament, New Testament, anything like that. We used it for Zechariah just this past Sunday, and it worked really well. You can use it to cover the child's eyes for characters like, the blind man that Jesus healed, or for Samson, when his eyes were plucked out, just cover their eyes as symbolism for the fact that they're blind. You can also use it to symbolize bound wrists. So either you put your hands in like this, just like you would for the three-legged race, and it symbolizes chained wrists, or like this, just on one wrist. So again, Samson, when he was bound, that kind of thing, or even just symbolic of the fact that sin binds us. So there's a ton of different uses for that. If you have other ideas, leave them in the comments below. Okay, the other thing I have in here is, I have to dig way to the bottom, a balloon. Balloons are amazing. They're great. You can use them for just about anything. The important thing is to keep in mind latex allergies, which are becoming more and more prevalent. So balloons you can use for keep it off the ground, just blow it up, and the point is to keep it off the ground. An over-under relay, the kids stand in a line. The first child puts the balloon between their legs. The second child grabs the balloon from between the legs of the person ahead of them and puts it over their head. And then the next person puts it between their legs, then over the head, so over-under. You can do a back-to-back relay where two kids stand back-to-back with the blown-up balloon between them, and they have to race, to the finish line and back kind of thing with the balloon between them. But if latex is an issue, just get a dollar store beach ball. So beach balls are great because they're reusable. Your balloon, of course, is not really reusable. A beach ball this is a full-size beach ball, just again a dollar store version. When we use it, we can blow it up and then deflate it and stick it back in the bag. A beach ball, of course, is a lot sturdier than a balloon, so it can be used for things like volleyball, dodgeball, soccer, anything like that where you would use a ball. Even just for tossing back and forth for answering questions, or whoever's turn it is to speak next, that kind of thing. Okay, I also have in here, I always include one kind of novelty item that the kids are going to be like, ooh, I want to hold that, I want to do that. So I used to use a rubber chicken all the time. When I was on staff at a previous church, I passed that on to my predecessor. Is that the word? I think that's the word. To continue using with the kids, because the kids loved it so much. They just loved having a rubber chicken. I went to Dollarama to find a replacement for the rubber chicken and found this squeaky hot dog. So, of course, first of all, when it's in the bag and the bag is zipped up, and you say to the kids, I'm going to pull out my bag of tricks, and you can squeak it, and they have no idea what's making that squeaking sound, that's kind of fun. That builds anticipation and excitement. But it can also be used for a ton of different things, like doggy doggy, who's got your bone, a hot potato, tossing it to the next person who's to answer a review question. This is a great way to get kids who are normally quiet and don't put up their hand. It's a great way to get them involved. You toss them the hot dog, they sit there and squeak it for a minute, and then they answer the question or they contribute to the discussion. And it just kind of breaks the ice and gives them something fun to look at and to hold. And for kids, too, who are very sensory and tactile, something like this that they can have in their hands gives them that kind of stimulation that they need to kind of refocus their mind on what you're actually doing and what you're talking about in the lesson. So that's a great thing. Now, of course, you don't have to get a hot dog, right? You don't have to get a squeaky hot dog. This is a dog toy. So go to the dog toy section of your dollar store, and they may have a rubber chicken, they may have a squeaky bone, which is perfect for doggy doggy. They may have any number of things, and whatever it is, make it unique and different, something that the kids wouldn't normally get to play with, especially not in Sunday school. Okay, so the next thing I've got in here is this great little stacking toy. So in this tin, it's a self-contained game, and this game in particular has a, what is this, like a half a sphere, I guess. And the idea is to just stack each of the other pieces on top of it and keep it going. So the kids can take turns, or they could play with it on their own. So this is not a toy that you would necessarily use in a big group. This is the kind of thing where if there's one or two kids that are done their activity or their seat work, whatever they're working on, you can give this to them and they can go off and play with it at a desk on their own or on the floor even. And then, because you can play with it on your own or with 2 or 3 or 4 kids, it doesn't matter, because there's any number of pieces. And of course, the idea is just to stack as you go. So a similar game to this would be like a Jenga, any kind of game like that where you can have any number of people. It's the kind of thing where if the tower comes tumbling down, okay, you just start again. Nobody's left out, and it's just a kind of independent, ongoing kind of game for any number of kids. So I don't have that on the PDF list that I will link below, but that's just something to keep in mind it's basically a keep busy toy, but one that doesn't exclude others. It's minimal instruction, super easy to do. We also have a hacky sack, again from the dollar store. Hacky sacks are great because, again, they're tactile, they're sensory, and they also make a neat kind of sound. You can use this as a basketball. So the kids can toss it. You obviously can't dribble it, but they could toss it between each other and toss it into a trash can or basket or whatever as the goal. You can also use it as a talking stick. So whoever is holding the hacky sack is the one who has the floor and can contribute to the discussion. They need to toss it to the next person for their turn to speak. You can also do an egg and spoon variation relay kind of thing with this, where the kids have to run and balance the hacky sack on the back of their hand. I only have one hacky sack, so if I did a relay race, it would be with all the kids, which is fun because then all of the kids can just race the clock, right? They're not racing in teams. I have a bottle of bubbles. Now this is ideal for younger kids especially. So nursery age, it's perfect. Nursery age kids, babies even, love watching and popping bubbles. Toddlers can kind of actually try and pop them. Babies can watch them float over their heads or whatever. This is a tablecloth, and it's just a cheap, flimsy tablecloth from the dollar store again. And the reason why I'm using this cheap, flimsy tablecloth is, first of all, because it's fabric, so it's strong enough, but it's cheap and flimsy and thin so that it packs up into my bag nicely. So this tablecloth spreads out to, it's probably 4 feet by 6 feet, that kind of thing. And it can be used for a ton of different things. I actually spread it out on the floor this past Sunday, and one of the kids said, "Oh, is it a boat?" And because he was familiar several years ago with me using a blanket like this as a boat when we were doing the story of Jesus calming the storm. So you can use it for so many different things. So for a boat, you would lay it out on the ground. Everybody would sit in it. You pull up the edges, pull on the edges. All the kids pull on the edges. And as you're telling the story, you rock back and forth, and of course move the edges of the sheet back and forth, the blanket back and forth, and of course the kids start moving back and forth. And as the storm picks up, of course you get crazier and crazier, and you're moving back and forth and back and forth. And then as Jesus stands up and says, "Peace, be still," then the boat starts to still as the water starts to calm in response to Jesus' words. So that's a fun way to really get the kids involved in the Bible lesson. I've also used blankets like this as a cave. So just drape it over desks or chairs, and everybody climbs underneath. We've pretended to be in Jesus' empty tomb with a blanket like this, where we were all underneath a couple of tables. And I can't imagine what it looks like when somebody is walking past the classroom and you see the teacher and all of the children huddled underneath a blanket, which is draped over a desk. But the kids love it. And when you get into a cave like that, you can use this hushed, quiet voice. And any kids that don't want to participate, they'll come closer to you to hear what you're saying. It's just a natural response to whispering or to a hushed tone. And of course, when you're in a cave, when you're in a fort like that, that's just going to pique any child's curiosity. And of course, they want to come and see what's going on. The other thing you can use it for is for a bed for the lame man whose friends took him to see Jesus. You can use it or for when Samuel's laying on his bed and God is calling him. For a chariot, you can put one child on it and pull them around the room if you have a smooth floor. It becomes a chariot. It can be a picnic basket. It can be a robe. You can drape this over someone, and it can become their costume for reenacting the lesson. And it can also just be spread out on the floor to create a space for the kids to actually sit on. So there are two more optional items that I kind of keep in here. One of them is these great little, I call them finger puppets. I don't know what they are. They're just these googly eyes, and they're designed to go on your finger like this, and then they become a puppet. So anything with eyes is naturally gets your attention. So for kids, if you did have a hand puppet that's small enough to fit in your bag, that would be awesome. But if you don't, this is a great alternative. Now, quite often you'll find them without these, I don't know what these are, leaves or something around their eyeballs, and that's great too. And it's the kind of thing where you can stick your hand in the pocket, slide it onto your finger, and pull your hand out with these eyeballs on them, and just get the kids' attention. And of course they're going to be attracted by that. And then again, when you go to put it away, you just quickly slip it off, and it's gone, and it's disappeared. And so that's it. Just because they don't see it all the time, again, it creates interest. It redirects their attention back to you, and gives them something interesting to just pique their curiosity. The other thing I have in here is just stickers. So stickers are always fun to give out for kids that are behaving, doing well in listening. If the whole class has listened well, this is a good incentive. Super cheap, right? You just go to your dollar store and grab a bunch of stickers, throw them in your bag. They're nice and flat. They don't take up any space. And as much as kids like candy and so on, you always have to be careful with things like allergies or food sensitivities. Something like stickers that can go on right on their shirt or on their hands is a great way to avoid any kind of sensitivities and allergies, things. So that's my emergency kit. I would love to hear your ideas on how to make even more use of the items in this bag, or if you have specific items that you make sure you always have with you when you're teaching kids doing children's ministry. Like I said, my list will be linked in the description below. Leave your ideas in the comments section below. And hey, if you want to see more videos like this, go ahead and subscribe and like this video. And that way I'll know you were here. All right, we'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.